Hello, bonjour, and let us talk about temperature. Alright, so in SI, or Système International, as we say in French, the unit for temperature is degrees Celsius. Degrees Celsius. Named after the guy that came up with them, Celsius. Alright, and we write that as degrees Celsius. And in science and everything else, the best way to measure temperature is to use some sort of a thermometer. Thermo meaning temperature, and meter meaning something that measures something. Alright? Temperature measuring device. Let's talk a little bit more about Celsius. It was named after a Swedish guy named Anders Celsius. He invented a similar scale in the 1700s. So he divided the temperature distance between a boiling point of water and the temperature which ice melts, and he cut it into 100 pieces. Right, so he's like, alright, let's call this 0 degrees Celsius. Right, now, in the SI system, everyone likes their units to relate to each other. So temperature and water are related, and mass, volume, and capacity are also all related to water. Right, so this is going to be ice melting, and we'll call this water boiling. And all the distance in between, we're going to put it into a nice 100 even pieces. I don't think I actually have 100 here, but you catch my point. So that is all 100 even pieces. Alright, so the modern one is based on the same thing. The freezing point of water is almost exactly 0 degrees Celsius, and the boiling point of water is almost exactly 100 degrees. So the two temperatures, for all practical purposes, are 100 degrees apart, as shown in this little picture over here. All right. So again, picture 100 little gaps in between there. And now, if it's colder than the temperature it takes water to freeze, we call that negative temperature, as we're all pretty familiar with, especially in the winter. All right. So a couple little examples here. The coldest recorded temperature in Canada is negative 100. Sorry, thank God it's not. It's negative 63 degrees Celsius. That was in February 3rd, 1947 in the Yukon. The hottest temperature was 45 degrees above, and that's in Yellowgrass, Saskatchewan. I want to know what the difference between these two temperatures is. So whenever you see the word difference in math, remember that means subtract. All right, so to figure out the difference, well, I take my hotter one, and I'm going to subtract my colder one. Now remember, I'm going to subtract this number here. So subtracting negative 63. Now, whenever you're having a double negative, that's the same as adding the opposite. That's your integer rules. So now this just becomes 45 plus 63, which works out to 108 degrees Celsius. That's the difference. Now, if you don't like that, you can look at this picture it on a thermometer. Right here is my slightly curvy thermometer. Right up here will be 45. That'll be 0 degrees Celsius, and down here will be negative 63. Right, so picture the distance from 45 to negative 63. So these gaps here, all the way down to 0, I know that this is going to be 45 degrees. And below 0, all of these, I know that there is 63 of these gaps. So to figure out the total distance, I'm going to go, well, the distance from 45 to 0 plus the distance from 0 to 63. Again, that'll give me 108 degrees. Right, two different ways, same answer. All right, one more quick example, and then I'll leave you alone. All right, on the last day of spring, Esther recorded the maximum daily temperature on her farm. The maximum temperature was 13 degrees Celsius, and the minimum temperature was minus 7 degrees Celsius. What was the average? So to figure out an average, what you do is you add up your things and divide them by however many things there are. Okay, so as a formula, this looks kind of sloppy. So you add up all your things, and then you divide them by the number of things. And like I said, as a formula, that's really ugly. But when you put it into practice, it's kind of nice. So my average temperature, well, I'm going to take my temperatures. I only have 2 of them. So that'll be 13 plus, and my other one was negative 7. Then I'm going to divide that by the number of things. Well, how many temperatures was I using? I was using 2. So my average temperature, remember, do the top of the fraction first. 13 plus minus 7. That is going to give me about 6 degrees. Divide that by 2. And my average temperature, 6 divided by 2, is 3 degrees Celsius. So that was our average temperature. Right? So now I just got a whopping 2 practice questions for you to work on. And then we are done the first part of this unit. All right, so now I'll have one more assignment for you, and then you are good to go. All right, thanks.